Hello and welcome to Buying My Freedom. My name is Steven. I'm 28 years old and currently paying down an absurd amount of credit card debt. If you want to know more about that, check out the video I have linked in the description. I'll break down all the details there. Now, before we get going, I just want to remind you that I am not a financial advisor. I have no formal training or certifications. Everything in this video is my opinion and is self-taught. If you're making financial decisions, be sure to consult a licensed professional. And remember, with any asset class, past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Now, with that out of the way, let's continue. My debt problem is being resolved by a simple concept that we're going to cover in depth over the course of this video: cash flow. Some of you may be wondering, what on earth do I mean by cash flow? Let's break it down. For this example, I want you to visualize money as a vast body of water. The tide ebbs and it flows. The water in this vast body is never without some motion. The water being without motion is unnatural. Some force is always acting on the water. The body of ebbing and flowing tides is our stand-in for the economy. Now, imagine yourself standing on the shore of this great body of water. As you stand and gaze at the water from the shore, your feet periodically get enveloped by a wave. Then, just as fast as the wave came in, it went back from whence it came. This wave is your paycheck. When payday comes, our money is usually already spent. The rent, the car payment, food, gas, clothes, credit cards, insurance, and so on. It happens so quickly it feels inevitable. Sometimes it even feels out of your control. Just as out of your control as the wave retreating from the shore. Almost as if the water has agency. Then we stop, and we remember that that's not actually the case. While it is true that you need money to obtain resources in your life, it is also true that where the money flows after you receive it is entirely your choice. You can choose to let all the water from the wave retreat, or you can find a way to redirect the flow. Humans have been redirecting the flow of water for thousands of years with many different technologies. Aqueducts, dams, water pumps, pipes, and more. Money is similar to water in this way. There are many ways to redirect the flow, and none of them are the right way per se. Instead, the way you manipulate the flow depends on your end goal. We've been using money for thousands of years. However, a scant few have actually mastered it. I'm not just talking about budgeting and discipline. Those things are important, but to take it seriously, you need a reason to make a budget and a reason to have discipline. The reason for doing this that most people cling to is either saving for something that they really want or having a rainy day fund. When shit hits the fan, or, as I'm fond of saying, when things go tits up, that emergency fund is a fantastic thing to fall back on. The vast majority of Americans today live paycheck to paycheck. Their money is flowing out just as fast as it is coming in, regardless of income level. It goes without saying that as a nation, our financial education and financial habits have a lot of room to improve. I am one among many, and the odds are that you are also one among many who is struggling with this. I want to be clear here. It's not just about people being disciplined. Too many financial creators and gurus like to tell you that your situation is because of something as frivolous as your morning coffee habit. In most cases, that's an absurd statement. Your $5 coffee is not the sole reason that you are living paycheck to paycheck. In a country where the dollar is king, there are traps everywhere meant to facilitate your dollar going into someone else's wallet. That facilitation can be insidious, or it can be a result of your own ignorance. Sometimes it's both. Recognizing this is your first step in regaining control. The second step is the dreaded B word. That's right, your budget. How much cash is flowing in? How much cash is flowing out? Are you accumulating debts that you can't pay? What can be cut? These questions all fall under the category of discipline. Most humans are not disciplined by nature. If we were, we'd all be physically fit overachievers. But we don't live in this fantasy. We must learn to be disciplined about our money if we ever want to break free from our chains. For some, this discipline is as simple as getting a budget under control. For others, like myself, it's a bit trickier than that. The thing that destroyed my situation was not making enough money to cover my lifestyle. When I moved to Colorado, the cost of living was significantly higher than where I came from. The job I eventually ended up with wasn't as stable as I had hoped. My hours were inconsistent, which meant that my income was also inconsistent. On top of that, I only made enough money to cover my immediate bills. I didn't really have anything to put away. I had a cash flow problem. Money was flowing in, but I wasn't making enough of it to really improve my life materially in any way. I had no savings. If you saw my first video, you'd know I did try to improve my situation by switching careers. And this, in most cases, is a good solution to this particular problem. What I didn't realize is that the career switch wasn't a good fit for me. I picked the wrong job with no safety net, and I fell harder than I've ever fallen before. After months of dealing with this and getting support from my family, a new career was the solution. I managed to increase my cash flow significantly, and that is how I'm climbing the summit back to financial security. However, this is not where the power of cash flow ends. You ever stop to wonder why banks pay you interest for letting them hold your money? It's because they aren't technically holding your money. The bank uses the cash you give them to buy income. Let me say that again. The bank uses the cash that you give them to buy income. Are you confused? It's okay. This isn't how people normally think about their relationship with the bank. Let's take a step back. People go to banks for many reasons. But the part of the business that makes the bank the most money is lending. They lend your money to other people so they can buy things like cars and houses. The bank and the borrower sign a lending agreement that includes an interest charge. The interest charge is the cost that the borrower pays in exchange for having the money lent to them. Since the bank borrowed from you in order to make this deal, they give you an insultingly small kickback from the interest in the form of interest for keeping your money in a savings account. The more money that you keep with the bank, the more they can lend. The more they can lend, the more they make. For the borrower, the loan is a liability, also known as a purchase that will lose you money. For the bank, this loan is an asset, also known as a purchase that will make you money. The vast majority of purchases that we make are liabilities. We will never end up with more money than we had as a result of buying groceries or that new widget that you really, really want. Nor will you get rich by putting your money in the bank for a tiny amount of annual interest. Funnily enough, you have a bit extra left over from your paycheck, you can actually buy cash flow. There are plenty of ways that you can do this, but the most obvious one by far is to own and operate a business. Personally, I don't have the time, desire, or energy to put into an endeavor like that. So I choose to buy dividend-paying stocks. It's the benefit of owning a business without the headache of operating it. I buy a share of a dividend-paying company, and the company pays me for owning it. This is what I'm talking about when I say you can buy cash flow. Instead of putting money in the bank where the end goal is for the bank to make money for themselves, I buy businesses that are so profitable and so stable that the best thing they can do with the excess cash that they make is to distribute it to shareholders. My extra money buys me a tap that gives me more money. My money buys cash flow, and I use that cash flow to buy more cash flow. Isn't that wild? I'm literally using money to buy income. The only thing I have to do is hold the shares and buy more. Pretty awesome and really simple. This is essential to my goal of early retirement. Every dollar that goes towards buying shares is a money tap that will pay me in perpetuity. This is how buying my freedom from the rat race works. And with a small bit of planning and discipline and luck, you can do it too. You don't have to do what everyone else is doing. Strive to be different. And you may just surprise yourself with what you can accomplish with a bit of focus and intentionality. Next week, we'll talk more about dividend stocks and why I choose them over stocks that don't pay dividends. But for now, I bid you adieu. If you enjoyed this video, tap that like button and hit subscribe. And be sure to leave a comment telling me what you'd like to see next. Thank you for watching and have a fantastic week.